Hello, everyone. It's Charlton. Please subscribe to my channel. Tap the notification bell. I would appreciate it majorly. So I'm making an update video on the Lori Vallow case, sort of doing some catch up. There's a variety of news items out there, and whenever I do that, I have a tough time because I'm not focusing on one single thing, and I'm trying to just smash it all in. But I'll do my best. Um, as you know, I have this idea that I don't think I've heard anybody else say these things. That I have this idea that these people have faked their deaths. I mean, one or all. My feeling is all three. Tammy Daybell, Charles Vallow, and Alex Cox have managed to fake their deaths. And I've stated in many videos before that I'm not going to restate now why I believe those things. And I don't necessarily believe that it's just for insurance money. I can't imagine that you go to these lengths just for some money that wouldn't even last you the rest of your life. I don't know what other bigger thing is going on. I suspect drugs, but I just don't know. But let me cruise through some of the housekeeping items, and I just wanted to take some time to just discuss the body cam footage of Lori Vallow or Lori Daybell and Tylee, where Lori is filing a police report that Charles Vallow had stolen her purse from her car when she was dropping off JJ Vallow, and she's there with Melanie Gibb, a friend or acquaintance of hers who comes into this story at multiple times. This is one of them. She shows up in another affidavit where the initial welfare check on JJ and Tylee that was requested by K Vallow Woodcock, because initially Lori had said they were staying with a friend in Arizona, and it was Melanie Gibb that she said they were staying with, and they had to track her down. I'll go through that too. So as quickly as possible, some of these sort of housekeeping items just to keep you abreast, and myself too. One of the stories out there was that Tammy Daybell's, headstone had been placed at her gravesite, which, I assume this is her family. And, her body was exhumed. Everybody knows that on December 10th. And it was only, I believe, a week, maybe 10 days. I believe it was only a week. That her body was out of the ground in order to conduct whatever tests that they needed to do in order to do the autopsy, which is still not complete. That's another item that I, wanted to go over as well. Adam Herms has over at his Twitter feed from a previous date, that I think it's Len Humphries, the sheriff of Fremont County Sheriff's Department, has said her autopsy still is not finished. Still not finished. From Fremont County Sheriff Len Humphries. So, this is the family that's placing her headstone there, not the state or anything like that. And I don't know that really indicates much of anything. I could very well end up being wrong. There's obviously, some of the things I'm suggesting are pretty unusual, but I do have a very strong feeling on these matters. I really do. None of the autopsies on any of these persons, Alex Cox, Charles Vallow, I don't even know that they're doing one on Joseph Ryan because his body was cremated back when he died. I think it was April 2018. So, but I think it's the family that made this decision, or even when somebody dies and they're buried, it takes a number of days to weeks, I believe, for the ground to settle before they actually lay the headstone there. So, not months, I don't believe, but anyways, one of the factors is, because I've already talked about these things, and I don't want to do it over and over again, but one of the factors was the family's reaction, Tammy Daybell's family's reaction to her death, or lack of reaction, that, was one of the things that I had big questions about, so, not requesting the autopsy of a person who was 49 years old, dying in her sleep, where just prior to that, 10 days prior to that, there's this incident report, or actually, no, I don't know if she, I think she may have reported it to the police. I think she did. But she also put it on her Facebook page, which her children obviously saw, that some strange figure appeared in her driveway. I think in the early evening, still daylight out, and with like a ski mask on, and maybe it was beginning to get dark, or was already dark. I don't know. With a gun, and she thought it was a paint pellet gun. And she believed it wasn't loaded because when he went to fire it, it didn't go off, something like that. And the fact that happened 10 days prior to her death, and a woman dying with no previous real medical history at 49 years old in her sleep, and the family not requesting an autopsy seems odd to me. And so the fact that her a tombstone is laid at her grave didn't seem all that significant to me, but nevertheless, just telling you about it. I mean, one of the things actually that's reported in this report from KSL, which is Garna Mejia, is that actually she's taking it from East Idaho News, is that the Attorney General from Idaho seems to be taking over the suspicious death case of Tammy Daybell. And, that's more for administrative reasons, it seems. It seems that, the prosecuting attorney of Fremont County, she's not, I think it's a female, is not seeking re-election. I don't know when that election is, but I guess they expect that this case would go beyond that. And if it does, she didn't want this dumped into a new prosecuting attorney who is going to run for that office. So the Attorney General seems to be taking over the case for the time being. I mean, this whole saga, I mean, it seems it's so odd that, in this case, a lot of times when you're reporting on this, particularly if you're not from the area, you get confused because there's Madison County and there's Fremont County. There's two neighboring counties. And actually, the missing kids case originated in Rexburg, which is Madison County. But just north of that, you get into Fremont County where Tammy Daybell lived. And that's a totally different jurisdiction. So you have Fremont County Sheriff's Office. You have the Madison County Prosecuting Office, investigating the missing kids case. And the Fremont County Sheriff's Office investigating this suspicious death case of Tammy Daybell. But even in Arizona, it's similar as well. I mean, one of the things I'm going to be looking at is the body cam of Lori filing a police report at the Gilbert, Arizona Police Department, over the purse that she claimed Charles Vallow took from her car. But then several months later, and that's January 2019, several months later, January 11th, 2019, the shooting death of Charles takes place in Chandler, Arizona, where the Chandler Police Department is involved with that. And it seems like these things are very cleverly structured that way, and I do believe, that these persons have a very sophisticated, or at least some people that they're working with. I have to think they're getting help, and that's my opinion, but have a very sophisticated knowledge of the law. So let me just keep going. But one of the things in this letter from the Attorney General of Idaho, basically stating that they're taking over the case, is, it actually names, I guess, potential charges, because formal charges haven't been brought. I guess they're being investigated for. It says name a defendant, which is Chad Daybell and Lori Daybell, and the matter is conspiracy, attempted murder, and murder. And attempted murder, I assume, is that incident that I just described to you that Tammy Daybell put on her Facebook page, of the man appearing in her driveway with a ski mask on and a gun that she thought was a pellet gun. Kay Vallow she speculated that it was a gun with a silencer that jammed. Anyways, let's keep going. Autopsies still not finished. That's for, like I said, for Tammy Daybell, but none of them have at least been publicly released. Alex Cox, Charles Vallow. So in another report, it was from Justin Lum, Fox 10 Phoenix, that Lori's attorneys had filed a request for discovery for police communication on the case and autopsy and toxicology reports on Charles Vallow, Alex Cox, Tammy Daybell, and Joseph Ryan, among, I think, a very voluminous request of like 40 pages or something like that. But yeah, I'm just going to kind of cruise thing. She was supposed to be in court tomorrow for a bail reduction hearing. This is, I think, a third time that she's seeking to have her bail reduced. And that's been postponed, and it's going to be next Friday, the 24th, which I think was for reasons of the virus. There were some, I think, rumors out there that she was going to maybe get released because of COVID-19. But that's, I don't think, true. And it says here that the preliminary hearing is set for 5/7/5/8. That's just another 2 weeks after next Friday. So, and so that's that. Basically over this body cam, it's nothing. This is not some brilliant analysis of what's going on in this body cam. I'm certain that these officers had some of the same thoughts that I have as they're conducting this conversation with Lori, and her daughter Tylee, and Melanie Gibb is there as well. In fact, Melanie Gibb is there to basically, she's the one, she's filing the police report, but it's almost her story to some extent. And one of the things that absolutely, it's not, she's there to support Lori, but she's just kind of at the heart of the matter. I'll explain in a second. It's just a matter of supposedly Charles texted Melanie with Lori's phone, deceiving Melanie, pretending to be Lori to lure her to the house where he and Lori had been living and been renting, and he had kicked in the door supposedly and stuff. But one of the major, throughout the conversation, it seemed to me like Lori was it seemed that Lori was helping Melanie with her answers, and that, when Lori seemed to get in trouble or didn't have the story straight, it seemed like, did I say Lori? When Melanie did seem to get in trouble and didn't have the story straight, Lori would jump in and assist her with her answers. That's the way it seemed to me. But there's so many inconsistencies and contradictions just within a 25-minute conversation, that it's almost it's comical to absurd, So each person has a witness. That's one interesting factoid right there. Because Lori has Melanie there with her, Melanie Gibb, and later in this body cam, and I think it's just pieced together. What the officer actually has a phone conversation with a third party in Charles's defense. So they each come to the situation with a prepared third party witness. My thought was this was all pretext, setting the stage for what would come, 6 months later in the shooting death of him, where basically they were faking his death, and it's possible that Charles didn't fake his death, and that some of the and only 2 of the 3 faked their deaths, but I don't think so. I think all 3 did. I do, and I think this is all just a lot set up. But I don't even think it's for insurance money. It's got to be something way bigger. Anyways. So, I'm just reluctant to play through. This thing's 34 minutes long. And, I'll play some of it. And then I'll just comment. I'll have to. This will be just a long video. I'll have to take some time because to describe it to you just from my notes. Which, like I said, these things are not. They are not hard to spot. At all. It's almost like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the story adds up. Because within 7 minutes of saying one thing, you're like, wait, that doesn't make sense to what you just said 7 minutes ago. But because it's a fairly small matter, And this is Gilbert Police Department. The shooting death happens with a totally different police department 7 months later. I don't know. Maybe, it doesn't have to add up. It just seems like a marital dispute. And so those things will just seem like innocent lies. Anyways.
He said, "Can you come in the house now?"
And then when you get...
Sure. Yeah,
okay.
I proceeded to act like he was himself.
Do you have the text messages on your phone?
I have it on my phone, but when I got there, I said...
By the way, right there, Tylee says, and that's Melanie Gibb speaking. Melanie Gibb is talking about the actual, showing up at Charles Vallow's home, Charles Vallow and Lori's home, and that he's there with other, I think, locksmiths, one or two guys that are fixing the door that supposedly he kicked in, and, kicking in the door, I don't know, that destroys the door. Doesn't need just a locksmith, but whatever. I can't go through every little stupid thing. But that's Melanie Gibb, and that's what she's describing there. And Tylee actually says, "Do you have the text messages?" She's jumping in there and saying, "Can you show them?" And Melanie, it's very hard. I've listened to it several times, and I'm still not absolutely even sure what Melanie says, but I'm fairly certain Melanie says, "I don't have my phone." She didn't bring her phone. So she didn't. I mean, this is the heart of the matter, that Charles texted her with Lori Vallow's phone, pretending to be Lori, to trick her into coming to this home, but she didn't bring the phone, and I'm sure that was for her own protection, because of whatever. Who knows? I don't know how all these people stack up into this. There's just no way. There's no way this is something small. There's got to be something much bigger, and I don't know who the big players are, but Melanie Gibb in this affidavit, I don't even know this. This could be from the Madison County Prosecutor's Office. I believe it is. I don't have time to go through, but just to give you some context of her, she, like I said earlier in this video, she was the person that Lori had originally said JJ and Tylee were staying with when Kay Vallow Woodcock, JJ's biological grandmother, and Charles Vallow's sister, requested the welfare check. And after going sort of a roundabout, trying to get in touch with Melanie Gibb in Gilbert, Arizona, Gilbert or Chandler, I think it's Gilbert. Eventually, they tracked her down. She didn't answer her phone. They went to her house, and eventually, either Melanie called them back, or they got her on the phone. And she said, he's not with me, and I haven't been living at that residence for months. And that was on November 26th, I believe. Hold on. It is. So by the evening of November 26th, we still had not heard from Melanie Gibb. I'm just giving you an idea of who's talking here, because even in this affidavit from the Madison County Prosecutor's Office, there's some issues with what she did and how she responded to police, and it wasn't pursued because they're pursuing something whatever, bigger, but so by the evening of November 26th, we still had not heard from Melanie Gibb, so RPD, which is Rexburg Police Department, informed Detective Ryan Pillar of the Gilbert Police Department of the information we had received regarding the children being with Melanie Gibb. I was informed later that evening, around 9:30 p.m., that Gilbert Police went to the home of Melanie Gibb. Melanie was not home, but Detective Pillar contacted her by phone, and she stated that JJ Vallow was not staying at her Arizona house and had not been there for several months. So JJ had not been there for several months. She was still living there. I correct myself on that. But that was November 26th. But then she later on December 6th, so whatever, 4, 5, 11 days later, I don't know if there's 30 or 31 days in November. 11 days later, she called the police back to tell them that Lori had basically asked her to say that he was staying with her, and she wasn't comfortable with that, so she didn't do that. But she didn't tell him on November 26th. She waited till December 6th to call them back. By that time, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell had already left the mainland, or whatever you want to call it, to go to Hawaii on December 1st. So on December 6, 2019, RPD was contacted by Melanie Gibb and informed that both Chad and Daybell and Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow, called Melanie on November 26, 2019 at separate times and asked her to tell the police she had JV, even though JV was not with her. Melanie informed RPD that she declined Chad's and Lori's request. This further establishes that the statement made to law enforcement by Lori on November 26th was false, and that Lori knew it was false. And then, just for clerical purposes, RPD has verified that Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow flew from Los Angeles, California airport to Hawaii on American Airlines on December 1st, 2019. Between the November 26th date that the police initially spoke with Melanie Gibb and the December 6th date that Melanie Gibb called them back to tell them that, Lori and Chad had called her on that same day, November 26th, asking her to say that he was staying with her, which she declined. But she waited till the 6th to tell them to come fully clean on that. Anyway, so that's who's speaking here. And like I said, she didn't bring her phone with her to this thing. Let's keep going. I'm sorry, but what can I do?
You've been using Lori's phone to connect with me. He goes, sorry, I've deceived you. I said, oh, okay, yeah, you did. Luckily, there were some other people there that were.
So he was changing the locks and probably got the door fixed where he kicked it in, so that
the locksmiths were there. So I'm glad that they were there. But there was a white Suburban, which I don't know. It was up there. I don't know where I got that car, but anyway, it was a few vehicles, so I didn't know. Who I suspected it would be her. I should have noticed that your car wasn't there, but I didn't notice that.
Okay, what kind of car do you drive?
An Infiniti QX80 black.
So you got to the house, and then you got there. He said, "Yeah, I deceived you," and then what was he calling you there for?
He wanted me to come over there and get some information about her, pretty much.
Oh, okay. What did he ask you?
He was asking, what's got into her,
where is she?
Where is she? Of course, I didn't say where she. I didn't know her.
Where is she? That was Lori over top of Melanie, basically chiming in, saying that's what he asked her. Where is she? Kind of helping Melanie, and that happens periodically. I don't have every time to point out every little thing, and I understand that that's not. But it just throughout this, from one side of the table, they seem to be helping, Melanie with her story. Rather than play this out, let me just kind of cruise through some of the things that I noticed, because immediately, I was wondering how did Lori doesn't have her phone. Charles has it. So how did Melanie basically correspond with Lori about this? Even after she says that Charles comes, basically tells her, I'm the one who contacted you on Lori's phone. I tricked you to come here to whatever. She just said, or Lori just said, to find out where she is. So, at some point, Lori actually says, and I think I will play that. She says she bought a little throwaway phone. I mean, this happened this same day. This is not from 2 days ago. This happened this morning. I think this is around 7 p.m. It's still daylight hours out, but it's all in one day, okay? And so she says that she went and bought a little throwaway phone. I guess that's how Melanie and her communicated while Lori was still without her phone. She's without her phone right now, but then, because initially I thought maybe Melanie knew Tylee's phone number and would contact Tylee in order to get in touch with Lori, but they never state that. And actually later on in this interview, Lori pulls out a different phone, okay? And it's not a flip phone, like a throwaway phone. It's a smartphone. And then she says, because the officer asks her, is that Tylee's phone? But in Tylee's phone's on the table, at least at one point during that same time when Lori pulls out the phone. And he doesn't ask about it at that point, but you could see that Tylee's phone is blurry, but it's over here But the police officer says, is that Tylee's phone? Just like I was thinking. But Lori says, no, it's my mom's. It's her old broken phone. I had to go. I went and bought a SIM card and put it in. I got to have my phone. So now it's in addition to buying the throwaway phone, she also, got her mom's old broken phone and bought a SIM card for that phone because she's writing down the name of the mental health facility that Charles Vallow had petitioned for an order to hold because of her mental state, that he claimed that she was, various things. I mean, obviously, I'm just pointing out things that don't make sense at all. I mean, it's almost silly, One of the other things that happens in this discussion is that Melanie. I mean, initially when she shows up, the very first thing that Lori says is that I have a friend who's a police officer, and my friend told me to get this to go and file a police report and to get this on the record. Okay, in my opinion, that's they want to get this on the record, and this is all setting the stage for what will come later. 6 months from now, which is the shooting death of Charles Vallow, and in my opinion, it's not setting up. It's not setting up his murder that they claim is self-defense. In my opinion, it's setting up some kind of scam that is faking his death and goes on to fake 2 other deaths in the process down the road. But that's what the very first thing that she says is that she's there to basically file a police report because a police friend of hers told her to do that. And later in the same body cam footage, and I'll play that, where Melanie says that when she leaves Charles's place, or Charles and hers' place, after being lured there by Charles with Lori Vallow's phone, texting Melanie, posing as Lori, she spots this police friend that I think she calls him Jason, and I think she says in a parked car by the pool. I guess the community has a community pool. And she says that, it was at that point, she says, oh, that's Jason, the police guy. And then she tells him about this whole thing. And, and then he's the one who tells her to file a police report. The point I'm trying to make is, and this is part of the reason I'm bringing up the flip phone, the mother's phone that supposedly she pulls out of her pocket, that she went in the same day and bought the SIM card after she went and bought the throwaway phone, is at that point, she hasn't even communicated with Lori. She doesn't know that Charles Vallow has taken her purse. Unless Charles Vallow willingly told her that I stole her purse along with her phone and and her wallet and ID. I mean, that's what she's there to report and get back. I mean, that's possible. But and at that point, that's when, again, Lori chimes in and says, well, I was going to file a report too, but sooner. But I felt like he was lurking in the area, and it was creepy because her purse had just been taken from her car. And at this point, she doesn't even know it was him that took her purse. I guess she could assume. It doesn't make sense. But what I'm saying is Melanie saw the police officer immediately after going to Charles Vallow's house, but hasn't even communicated with Lori at that point, but is able to talk to a friend police officer that tells her to go ahead and file a police report of something that she doesn't even know of yet, unless Charles told her in detail and admitted all his guilt to her of stealing a phone, stealing a wallet, stealing, some person's contents out of their car. Okay? And then, I'll stop after that. I mean, it's just...
Yeah. So, it's a good thing you did come in, because it will be a very one-sided story, so it's always good to kind of see what's going on.
That was very smart. Yeah, Jason's.
What was
you have to tell me about them?
So I was sitting there coming out of her neighborhood after he conned me to go to the house, and I pull over, by the pool, and then I see this guy that I know, just like
our good friend,
just
police
like
officer.
right in front of me on the side of the road, and I'm like, that looks like Jason. I'm like, hold on, that's Jason. He's a police guy. I'm gonna go. So I'm like, Jason, what are you doing over here? He goes, I was just going to get some gear.
Oh yeah.
Like, hey, I just want to tell you what's going on. He goes, yeah, go down to the Liz house now. I'm like, oh.
I mean, I was going to do it after he took it, and I realized it was gone when I got back to the car. I was like, he's lurking around here. Like, that's creepy by itself.
Yeah.
But two, like, it's everything I have. Like, I don't have anything. I don't have.
So, I mean, I don't want to belabor the point, but she had just left Charles's house. She hasn't even spoken with Lori. She couldn't have, you know? I mean, Lori doesn't have her phone, all right? And she, like I said earlier in the thing, she says, I caught the fifth phone. I don't want to, go to the parts where,
I have until
there's
notified by
Tylee's
my
phone
sergeant
right
that
there.
it's still active. They still want you. I can't hold you against
I'll play
your
through
will.
this. This is
But
talking
it's
about the
verified by
order
my
to hold
sergeant,
her.
which she says could take a little while. Then if it is verified, then I have to take you to Community Bridges. It's a mental health behavior place to get looked at. But while it's being verified, I have no right to keep you and hold you, just so you're aware. So he's supposedly en route with your purse and your phone, and then the order also, which needs to be verified by my sergeant. So we will facilitate the transfer of the purse and the phone, and while we go give the mental health petition to my sergeant, and she's verifying it, you do whatever you feel you need to do. How we're going to get that to go away, I do not know. You may need to you can probably contact Community Bridges, that's CBI, Community Bridges. We have one, I don't know if you play it safe.
Sorry. I just think it's funny because he's trying to just
Right. So,
That's very smart.
because I'm really the one that did something wrong.
but here's the thing, is I don't know, and I'm not going to take sides,
Right, no,
but
I
just
don't know.
talking to you, I mean, I don't see you being a danger to yourself or anybody else. You got your kids to school.
Right.
I don't know, but I'm not going to play side. I'm just going to let you know that we are required, if you're here, that we will, even against with force if we have to, if you're still here when it's approved, we'll have to take you to CBI.
And what is it called? I'm just going to write it down.
Community Bridges.
Okay.
That's where we take you
That's
down.
the mom's phone right there.
Through to get the order taken care of.
That's what I'm saying. How do you even get that? He got that in the middle of the night? How do you get something in the middle of the night?
It's family members can do it for other ones who have like drug dependency or not getting help, mental health
Yeah, but how would
issues.
he had to come here? Isn't stuff closed?
So normally that order, I was wondering about that. How is it that somebody's able to do that? A spouse is able to basically that easily get a petition or an order to hold a spouse or family member, and it's some kind of law that basically helps families with a family member with a drug addiction hold them to help them. And it's funny, Lori later in the body cam says, "I wonder how would he even know that?" And I wondered that too. And when he said that it's normally used for situations where a family member has a drug addiction, that definitely, because I have a feeling this is about drugs. I do, and I can't obviously prove it with that, but and later in this, he had a white Suburban. That comes up a couple times. The detective asks about it again, and the white Suburban that was there's 1,000 white Suburbans. Okay, I understand. I talked about that this somehow was connected to the LeBaron massacre, the LeBaron and Langford family members. Women and young children were slaughtered, gunned down, and some burned alive. Now I said it was a drug smuggling operation. I thought it was, and that maybe some of these people were involved in hijacking a drug smuggling operation. I sort of backed off of that because. The reason I had that idea was because of the surveillance footage of Lori Daybell's Rexburg storage unit, where it seems Alex Cox is carrying out a large seat, like the rear full seat of an SUV, and apparently, it does seem that it was the Jeep Wrangler and not a Suburban one. But that's where I had the idea. And before I actually could see that it was the Jeep Wrangler. But that was a white Suburban. This is the white Suburban in Mexico that was basically shot up and torched, that exploded from being shot up so much. So, you know. Let me see something.
Yeah, and I
I was
didn't know
trying to-
I didn't know what her. I couldn't contact her.
Nobody
The
could
website
contact
she
me. I
called
just went and bought a phone so I could have a little throwaway phone. So
Have you called
So
them to
that's
ask
where
them
she says, I had it written down
stuff back?
1525. It's
She talked to
525. That's why
So
they
he's a
got a little
little
confused. She said that's where she's saying, you know, Lori's explaining, like, how did you, you know, she knows that there's a problem because they couldn't communicate. And instead of just saying, you know, I guess that Tylee, she contacted through Tylee because that would show up on, you know, if she didn't, which I assume it's because then she comes with the story that she bought a throwaway phone. And then later in the same interview, she also got an old phone from her mom that she bought a SIM card for. Within the span of, you know, from the time she dropped off JJ Vallow in the morning, you know, to 7 in the evening or something like that when this happens. And that's the story there, you know. Another mess, but that's life, dude. That's life. I don't think I'm redoing it. I don't think so. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. I'll see you in the next video. Later, man.